Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to take complex topics and, well, break them down into the essential insights you really need.
That's the goal.
And today, our focus is squarely on Augusta-Richmond County and the heart of its local governance, this ongoing charter review process.
It's a big one, and our mission really is to unpack the current government structure there, look at the changes being proposed.
And maybe most importantly, listen to the people, right? Understand the perspectives of the citizens who are actually impacted by all this.
Exactly. We've waded through hours of public hearing testimony, presentations from the Vinson Institute of Government.
Yeah, lots of material. We're aiming to distill the most illuminating parts for you.
So to really get why this review matters, we probably need to start at the beginning. What is a local government charter anyway?
Good question. It's basically the constitution for a city or county, isn't it?
That's a great way to put it. It's the foundational document. It defines how the whole government operates.
So it's like the DNA of the local government. What kind of stuff is encoded in there? Does it just say who's in charge?
It's much more than that. It sets up the structure, mayor, commission, whatever form it takes, and outlines their powers, their responsibilities.
Okay.
It also sketches out the general departments and what they do. But crucially, like the U.S. Constitution, it grants powers and limits them.
Ah, right. So it gives them authority, but also puts, like, guardrails in place.
Precisely. It provides the framework they need to pass local laws, ordinances, and hold officials accountable. Even basic things, like the government's official name, Augusta-Richmond County, that's in the charter.
Huh. Even the name.
Yeah, and general boundaries, too. Though, interestingly, specific boundary details often get put in appendices.
Why is that?
Makes them easier to update. You don't want to have to amend the whole charter just because of a small boundary adjustment. Keep the core stable,
That makes sense. Keep the foundational stuff solid. What else gives the government its teeth, its vital functions?
Well, elections are key. The charter details how officials get chosen. And money. Big part of it.
Always is.
Yeah. It outlines what kinds of taxes they can levy, fees they can charge, their borrowing authority, and importantly, how they handle finances, accounting, budgeting, all that.
So without the charter, they couldn't legally, collect property taxes or pass a local ordinance?
Pretty much. It's the source of that local power. Without it, they don't really have the legal standing to do much of anything locally.
Okay, so it grants power. What about the flip side? What's not usually in a charter? And why leave things out?
That's a really important distinction. Generally, you want to exclude things that you expect to change fairly often. Amending a charter is a big deal, much more involved than just passing or changing an ordinance.
Right, like you wouldn't want speed limits in the city constitution.
Exactly. So things like zoning rules, they evolve. Public safety stuff like, restaurant inspection rules, business licenses, specific fees.
Traffic rules.
Parking. Yep. Environmental regulations, administrative procedures. Even things like employee pay scales, those change. You handle that stuff through ordinances, much more adaptable.
Got it. Keep the Constitution for the fundamentals, use regular laws for the details that shift. So, if the charter is this foundational document, why update it? Augusta-Richmond's is, 30 years old from the consolidation? Not exactly ancient history.
True, it's not from the 1800s, but 30 years is still a generation. There are good reasons. First, just cleaning up language. Sometimes old language is archaic or just confusing now.
Makes sense.
Second, and this is a big one, mitigating legal risks. Making sure the charter lines up with current state law. State law always wins, so you want them aligned. Avoid lawsuits.
Okay. Legal housekeeping.
Yeah, and protecting against improper amendments, making sure changes happen correctly in the past. Plus, accessibility. The Vinson Institute, they're helping the review committee.
Right, the experts from UGA.
Yeah. They stress making the document easy for citizens to actually find and read. And apparently, based on public comments, Augusta's committee already worked on making the online charter easier to access. That's a direct result of feedback.
Good to hear.
And finally, just addressing new challenges. Things come up that nobody thought about 30 years ago. New types of services, new issues. The charter might need tweaking to handle those.
Okay, that lays the groundwork. So let's dive into Augusta-Richmond County's specific journey now. This isn't just about legal documents, is it? There's history, passion.
Definitely. So the Charter Review Committee, the CRC, got started after the County Commission appointed its members, and they've been digging deep into the current charter. It's a huge document, by the way. Hundreds, maybe thousands of pages long if you include everything.
Wow. Okay, that's a serious task. And they've already made some calls. voted to remove certain parts?
They have. They're targeting a few types of language. First, what they called anticipatory language from the consolidation era.
Like if the city and county merged then?
Exactly. Since the merger happened, that language is obsolete. So out it goes. Second, they're removing language that just duplicates the state constitution or state laws.
Because state law overrides it anyway.
Right. No need for it to be in both places, just clutters things up.
And I bet they're also taking out those things you mentioned earlier, the stuff better suited for ordinances, like pay rates from 1994.
Precisely. Things like specific compensation levels that are obviously way out of date and change regularly, much better handled by ordinance, makes a charter cleaner, more focused on the fundamentals.
So the CRC does all this work, refines the charter. Then what? Does it go on the ballot?
Not right away. First, the recommendations go to the local legislative delegation. That's the group of state senators and representatives who represent Augusta, Richmond County, and Atlanta.
Okay, the local folks at the state capitol.
Yep. They look at the CRC's proposal and decide what happens next. If the changes are significant, and a full review like this usually proposes significant changes, it then has to go through the whole Georgia General Assembly.
The state legislature has to approve it.
Typically, yes, for major revisions. Then, potentially, it might come back to Augusta-Richmond voters for final approval in a referendum, but it's a multi-step process.
And public input. You mentioned the online access improvement. Are they really listening throughout this?
They seem very committed to it. They've stressed that there are opportunities for public comment at every single committee meeting, and they put out that online survey.
Yeah, over 1,100 responses, you said.
Over 1,172 at the time of the public hearing we reviewed. So, yeah, a pretty significant number. They are actively seeking feedback.
Okay. Now let's talk about the different ways a local government can actually be set up. The CRC is looking at different models, right? With help from Carl Vinson.
They are, and it's important context that Augusta-Richmond is one of only about 8 consolidated city-county governments in Georgia. That's already a bit unusual.
Like Athens-Clarke, Columbus-Muskogee.
Right. So when you look broadly at local government structures, there are a few main types, or archetypes, you could say.
Okay, let's break those down. Maybe give us the quick version of each.
Sure. First, you often hear about the mayor commission with administrator, sometimes called a strong mayor form.
Strong mayor. Okay, sounds powerful.
In the pure form, yeah. The mayor is like the chief executive, the CEO. They usually appoint department heads, prepare the budget, often have veto power. There's an administrator for day-to-day stuff, but they might report directly to the mayor, or the mayor still holds key powers like hiring, firing. The mayor, in this classic model, often doesn't vote on the commission.
Okay, so one person clearly in charge of the executive branch. What's the alternative?
Well, there's the mayor with commission, or weak mayor model. Here, the mayor is more symbolic, like a chairperson or president.
More ceremonial.
Often, yes. The mayor and the commission act together to appoint officials. The mayor doesn't have independent executive power. They're really part of the commission and need its consent to act. Less direct control.
So more power rests with the commission as a whole. Then there's the manager form. Seems common.
Very. The commission manager form. Think of the commission like a board of directors. They hire a professional city or county manager.
An expert in running things.
Ideally, yes. That manager becomes the chief executive, handling daily operations, hiring and firing department heads, managing the budget. It provides clearer administrative accountability, one person responsible for operations reporting to the elected body.
That makes sense. One point person for how things are running day to day. What's the last main type?
The commission form. This one's less common now, especially in larger places. Here, there usually isn't a single manager or strong mayor. Instead, the commissioners themselves directly oversee specific departments.
Like one commissioner is in charge of roads, another for parks.
Something like that. It can lead to fragmented management. Each commissioner might run their department differently. Harder to get professional, consistent administration across the board.
Interesting. But Augusta-Richmond doesn't fit neatly into any of those boxes, does it?
Not perfectly. That's a key point. For instance, voters there recently decided to give the mayor a vote on the commission.
Right, which is different from that classic strong mayor model you described, where the mayor often doesn't vote, but they still have an administrator.
Exactly. So it's not a pure strong mayor because the mayor votes with the commission. It's not a pure weak mayor because the mayor might still have other specific duties. It's not quite a pure commission manager form either. It's this hybrid.
What are the implications of that kind of hybrid structure? Does it cause confusion? Or maybe offer flexibility?
It can be both. Having the mayor vote gives them direct legislative influence, sure, but it can also blur the lines. Is the mayor primarily an executive or a part of the legislature who is ultimately accountable for operations if the mayor has some executive functions but also votes like any other commissioner?
Yeah, I could see how that could lead to finger-pointing, maybe. What did the experts say about that?
The Carl Vinson folks made a really important point. Structure matters, but any of these forms can work. What's truly crucial is having a government with a clear vision and, maybe more importantly, the willingness to actually work together.
Collaboration is key, no matter the org chart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Although they did note that, generally speaking, manager forms tend to be a little more efficient overall, probably because of that clearer line of administrative accountability we talked about.
Okay, so structures, processes, expert advice. But what about the people living there? What do the citizens of Augusta Richmond actually want? This is where it gets really interesting, hearing directly from them.
It really is. Their testimony reveals a community that's deeply invested, but also, frankly, wrestling with some significant challenges and differing views.
What were some of the main themes that jumped out?
Well, one huge one was government dysfunction and accountability, or at least the perception of it.
Okay.
We heard from Robert Wynn, a business owner, chair of Augusta Tomorrow. He was very direct, called the current government dysfunctional.
Strong word. Why?
He pointed to a lack of accountability. Mentioned neglected public spaces, the Riverwalk, Warren Road Park, saying they just don't look great. He blamed having an administrator with, quote, 11 bosses, the 10 commissioners plus the mayor.
So too many cooks in the kitchen, basically.
Yeah.
Leading to inaction.
That was his argument. He said it's had catastrophic consequences for 30 years, holding the community back. He really framed this charter review as a generational opportunity to build a more prosperous future.
Wow. But I imagine not everyone sees it quite so bleakly.
No, definitely not. Former Commissioner Moses Todd pushed back. He said, look, the government isn't dysfunctional. Maybe it has deficiencies.
Okay, different perspective.
Yeah. He argued, garbage gets picked up. The Downtown Improvement District got $500,000 in ARP funds for cleanup. He also noted that most motions brought before the commission actually pass, suggesting they can legislate effectively.
So functional, but maybe not perfect. What about the idea of a strong mayor? That came up a lot, didn't it?
Oh, big time. And strong opinions on both sides. Former Commissioner Jerry Brigham was strongly against it.
Why?
Based on what? He cited history, said strong mayors tend to ignore other elected officials, and he raised the issue of corruption. Said he's seen it happen, that it's hard to get a powerful mayor out once damage is done.
Were others echoing that concern?
Yes. Pat McMahon, Jane Rise, other citizens brought up past issues, negative experiences, even mentioning the Gang of Five, which refers to a contentious political period in Augusta's past. Clear skepticism there about concentrating power.
But surely some people see a need for stronger leadership.
Absolutely. Alexander Marshall, for example, argued the opposite. He said, the problem with the city of Augusta is there's not a chief executive. He felt the city's been declining for 30 years because there's no single person at the helm. He wants clearer executive authority.
Two very different diagnoses of the same problem. What about money? Any specific financial reforms discussed?
Jerry Brigham brought that up too. He talked about needing to change or even get rid of the urban services district.
That's the thing that defines who pays for what services, right?
Yeah.
Often causes tension between different parts of the county.
Exactly. He also suggested funding fire and garbage services through property taxes like most cities do instead of specific fees. More fundamental shifts in financing.
Okay. Now, you mentioned earlier that trust seemed to be a major undercurrent. How did that play out in the hearings?
It was huge. A really recurring theme. Citizens like Ben Hassan and Reverend Anthony Booker pointed to what they saw as inconsistencies. They felt they were told one thing in commission meetings, that the CRC's recommendations would come back to the commission first. But then the final resolution seemed to say it would go straight to the legislative delegation in Atlanta. Ben Hassan put it bluntly, at no time and place was it ever said that this body would represent citizens in Atlanta. A real feeling of disconnect or maybe being bypassed.
And that distrust wasn't just about this specific process, was it?
No, Edward Jefferson really highlighted that. He brought up a past experience with redistricting. Citizens worked hard, approved maps. And then, according to him, when that map hit Atlanta, they threw it out. He said that's why the trust isn't there. It's not about the local committee members necessarily, but a deep mistrust of the people who are sitting in Atlanta potentially overriding local decisions.
That's powerful. a history of feeling like local input gets ignored at the state level.
And interwoven with all of this, almost impossible to separate, is the issue of race.
How so?
Ben Hassan actually referenced a 2001 report calling the race relations issue the most daunting obstacle to progress in Augusta. James Williams echoed that, saying the original consolidated charter was specifically designed to try and force officials to work together across racial lines, acknowledging that those issues existed then and, quote, we still do.
So the structure itself was partly a response to racial divisions.
That was the argument. And Lonnie Wimberly was incredibly direct, stating the mistrust is black and white. He said you just can't avoid that reality when discussing Augusta's governance.
Wow. But did everyone agree that race was the central issue, blocking progress?
Alexander Marshall, the same citizen who argued for a chief executive, acknowledged the race issue is prominent. But he also pointed out that many current department heads are black, and felt the problem was actually a broader lack of diversity and, fundamentally, that lack of executive authority we talked about earlier.
So multiple layers of complexity there. What about just basic engagement? Did people feel heard or want more ways to participate?
Definitely. Tina Rothy, Monique Bradwell, they really pushed for broader public input. They suggested community-wide elections on any proposed changes, not just relying on the committee process.
And more meetings.
Yeah, Monique Bradwell asked why the committee wasn't holding hearings in every commission district instead of just a select few. She lives in District 5, a large voting precinct, and wanted them to come there. A clear call for more accessibility.
Did anyone ask for, positive example, models to look up to?
Oliver Page did. He asked the Carl Vinson expert for examples of forward-thinking governments. The expert didn't point to one specific city, but emphasized the importance of regular strategic planning, meaning successful governments proactively set a vision and plan for the future, rather than just reacting to the crisis of the day. Consistent forward-looking planning.
How did the committee members respond to all these concerns? Dysfunction, trust, race, engagement.
Well, they highlighted things like making the charter more accessible online, as we mentioned. They consistently reiterated their listening while also acknowledging, the practical challenges of holding meetings absolutely everywhere.
Logistics are tough.
Right. And a committee member made a point to clarify, just because they're studying different government forms doesn't automatically mean they're going to recommend a total overhaul. It could be targeted changes based on the research and all this input they're gathering.
So trying to manage expectations a bit. Was there any sense of optimism from the committee itself?
There was. Coach Clint Bryant, a committee member, really appealed to citizens to give them a chance. He expressed genuine confidence that the committee, with the expert help from Carl Vinson, would do its best and make recommendations truly in the city's best interest. He sounded hopeful they could navigate these complex issues.
A call for patience and trust, essentially.
Yeah. I feel in my heart and bones that this committee will do the best job, he said. A strong commitment.
So, after digging through all this,
Yeah.
what's the bottom line? What does this deep dive tell us about Augusta-Richmond County right now?
It clearly shows a city at a really critical moment. It's grappling with its history, especially the legacy of consolidation and ongoing issues like racial tensions, while trying to figure out the best path forward.
And these aren't just abstract debates about government structure, are they?
Not at all. At the core, these are fundamental questions about accountability, about trust between citizens and their government, and ultimately how a diverse community can govern itself effectively to create prosperity for everyone.
The testimony really drives home that point. For any new structure, any charter changes to actually work, they need more than just smart design.
Absolutely. They need to be built on a foundation of trust. That means transparent processes, real engagement, and a shared willingness to tackle those deep-seated community challenges head-on, including the uncomfortable ones.
Without that foundation, even the best-written charter might just sit on a shelf.
Exactly. And ultimately, while the committee makes recommendations and the legislature plays its role, several citizens reminded everyone where the final power lies.
With the voters.
Right. If significant changes come back for a referendum, it's the citizens who will have the final say. As one person put it, the change in this government is going to be up to you.
So, a lot to think about. As you, the listener, reflect on all this, here's a final thought. If a city's charter is its constitution, its DNA, how much of its past should it carry forward? And how much does it need to shed or rewrite to truly build a different future?